Hi everyone, my name is Diamond. I'm the owner of Candlelit Concepts and More, a candle company located in Elko, Nevada. Today I'm going to be making an 8-ounce pineapple mango margarita. But first off, I need to start by making my ice cubes. I've already pre-measured my medium density gel wax. It's clear. I'm not going to add any sort of fragrance or coloring dye to the wax, as that will alter the shape, and I want it to have the nice square shape that an ice cube has. And then I have my square ice cube mold. So I'm gonna go ahead and melt this down and pour it into my mold and get my ice cubes setting. So that way by the time my candle is set, I can add my ice cubes. Okay, so I just poured the ice cubes and I've set those aside to cool. I did also add the zinc core wicks to my margarita glass. I decided to add 5 just because the circumference of this container is quite large, and I definitely wanted to make sure that the candle burns evenly. We definitely don't want any sort of like cratering to happen where like the edges around the glass aren't burning at all, but just the center is. So I added 5 to help prevent cratering from happening and to allow an even burn. So now that I've got my wicks attached using the candle stickers, I'm gonna go ahead and add my little guides on. I add these mainly to keep my wicks in place and prevent them from shifting. Once I'm pretty happy with those, then I will kind of put my finger on the center there and wrap my wicks around just to prevent them from moving once the hot gel wax is added. Okay, so now that the wicks are in place, I'm gonna go ahead and take my gel to the stove to start melting. I do recommend just leaving it on like a medium heat. I have found that if you turn it on high, the only thing it's gonna do is cause it to smoke. It is not going to melt your gel wax any faster. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this on the heat, get it melted down. For this candle, I did choose a pumpkin orange coloring dye. I went with the orange because of the mango. I thought it would look nice. And I've already got my pineapple mango fragrance oil measured out. So I will get this heated, melted. I'll mix my fragrance and my coloring agent and I'll be back to pour. Thanks. All right, so we're back and the gel has completely melted. We are ready to now add the liquid candle dye and our fragrance. So I'm gonna start by using a 3 milliliter pipette to add the desired amount of dye. It's always better to start off small because you can always add, but if you add too much, you can't take it away. So I don't want it too dark, mainly because margaritas, you know, they're supposed to be fun, vibrant. So I don't want it to take away from the overall appearance of the candle by being too dark. So usually if I want to test to see, because sometimes the coloring, when you add the coloring into the pot can alter the appearance. So sometimes I like to just take a small amount and put it on my aluminum foil to really get an idea as to what color it is. So I'm pretty happy with that. So once the liquid dye has been fully mixed, then I'll go ahead and add my fragrance oil. Again, we chose pineapple mango. Once you add your dye or your fragrance oil and your dye, make sure you stir the mixture pretty well. You definitely want the fragrance oil dispersed evenly amongst the gel. And I'm sure you guys have all noticed too that I switched containers, melting pots. So I melted it down originally in the gray pot, but I like to transfer it after it's melted to this container here because it's kind of got the little pouring spout, which makes getting it into my glass container a little bit easier. I don't make as big of a mess. So once you feel like the fragrance oil's been mixed in properly and evenly, we'll get ready to pour. Now I'm not going to fill this all the way up because I do need to take into consideration that I'm going to be adding ice cubes after the main candle has solidified. If you do see bubbles like this, I just usually take my pipette and pop it while it's still hot. But there you have it. Our margarita's well on its way. Okay, so our ice cubes have completely solidified and they're ready to be taken out of the mold and cut to put into our pineapple mango margarita. So I just slowly start kind of pulling back the edges of my ice cubes to kind of release it from the mold. There's one. There's two. There's three. And here's our final ice cube. Now I did only make 4 because we're gonna cut these down into smaller ice cubes. So I didn't want to have too many. All right. So once we have them out of the mold, I usually just take a knife, kind of find the middle and push down. And they kind of just break apart like that. And I do that until I receive 8 total ice cubes. And I repeat. Now we've got these cute little mini ice cubes. Couple of suggestions. I have tried to fragrance ice cubes. I've tried to do like embeds, you know, garnishes and stuff. But in order to do that, I had to add candle dye. And what I found by either adding candle dye or fragrance to an item that I want to maintain shape, it did the exact opposite of that. It will not maintain its shape. So let's say that this was colored. Let's say that I added a fragrance oil to it and I just left it here. When I come back to it the next day, it will be a completely flat blob of gel. And so, unfortunately, you know, with the cocktail candles, like, these are nice, they make the candles look beautiful, but unfortunately you cannot add any sort of fragrance to it, so without altering the shape. So I do let customers know if there is ice cubes in their candle that those ice cubes are not fragranced, so they kind of have to burn through the ice cubes in order to get to the fragranced portion of the candle. So let's check our margarita and see if it's ready for ice cubes. So as I'm filling the candle, it is still a little warm, which is good. You don't want it completely solidified because when you go to set the ice cube on the top, it'll just do that. It'll sit on the top. But you also don't want it so hot that the ice cube sinks and you can't see it. So one way that I tell if a candle is ready is I will just kind of plop an ice cube on there and see how fast it's trying to sink, and I will use that as a guide. So I have a little bit of sinking. So I'm gonna give it a few more minutes because just in those few seconds, I had pretty much an entire corner of the ice cube sink, and that's a little bit more than what I'm looking for. So I'll be back. Okay guys, we're back. So the candle has cooled down quite a bit, and so I think we are at a point where we can start adding our ice cubes. So I'm gonna start by just removing these popsicle sticks. We are going to want to trim our wicks before we go any further. So I'm gonna trim it there. And I wanna check to make sure that that's gonna give me enough curl before I go ahead and cut all the rest of the wicks. So I'm gonna take a small skewer and I'm gonna wrap my wick around it. Yep, and it gave me 3 curls, which is what I typically do on a candle. So then now I'm gonna take this piece that I cut off and I'm gonna match it to all of my other wicks to where they are all the exact same size. And then I'm gonna go ahead and curl all of them. I like to do this step before I add the ice cubes, just because I really don't want to fight with the wicks or with the ice cubes. So I have found that this is a little easier for me. All right. So now that I've got my wicks trimmed, I'm ready to add my ice cubes. There is no right or wrong way to add ice cubes to your cocktail candles. I do just like to try to get them at all different angles. I don't want them all flat. Looks a little more realistic if they're all at kind of different angles. And because my candle is still a little bit warm, over the course of the next 30 minutes or so, these will sink down a little bit and adhere themselves to the candle. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. All right, now you can top this with like an umbrella or even a little embed. Maybe it's a slice of, you know, pineapple or a slice of mango or even a lime. but it's really personal preference, but there's at least the main part of the margarita candle. So cheers. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.